The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Q Points. Welcome to I Come Alive, Stories of Black Gay Atlanta Nightlife. I am your host, DJ Sir Daniel. This series strives to tell the stories of Atlanta's gay nightlife from the perspective of the people who lived it. For this episode, the category is Pioneer. Meet Clinton Jolliffi, CeeJay to those that know him well. There was a time when only certain body types were desirable if you were on the scene in Black Gay Atlanta, until a college student from Detroit turned the world upside down by creating spaces for fat boys to dance and to be even seen as sexually desirable. These are Father Clinton's stories. Enjoy the show. The guest for this episode means the world to me, actually. He and his business partner, Brandon, gave me my first gig as a DJ for their annual Big Dogs Winter White Party. Then I went on to DJ their annual Labor Day White Parties for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And that experience gave me the chops and the confidence to continue DJing and becoming a cultural commentator. But it's not about me right now. I want to give it up for this gentleman affectionately known as CeeJay and known as father to quite a few. But please welcome Clinton Jolliffi to this episode. How you doing, CeeJay?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about yourself?
I am wonderful. Before we go any further, please, because things have changed in the past year or so, please give the audience your full ballroom title and status.
I've been in ballroom scene about 23 years now, 24 years now. Started my ballroom career in Detroit, Michigan. I helped start the ballroom scene there, actually, me and quite a few other guys. And we just, we found out about ballroom and we said, hey, let's start a house. We all started different houses, but we all still, we were friends. So we just competed on the ballroom floor. I moved to Atlanta to continue my ballroom career. And, I started houses. I did things. I did a lot in ballroom. I've walked in one in every major city or almost every ballroom city in this country. And I've built a pretty good legacy. I have kids that are really good in ballroom to this day. So yeah, I love it. But, my title is, let me see if I can get it together, is I am icon, legendary, pioneer, Hall of Famer, Clinton Jolliffi.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard what the man said. Give it up for him. Legendary, icon status, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're from Detroit. So what originally brought you to Atlanta?
A relationship, believe it or not. It was a relationship that had brought me to Detroit. I met someone, and oddly enough, I met them in D.C. I didn't even meet them in Detroit or Atlanta. I met them in D.C. During Pride weekend, was having a ball. I was with my friends. He was with his friends. And we kind of was checking each other out the whole weekend. But then he got one of his friends to come up to me, and, the rest is history. And then like a year later, it was like, hey, one of us got to move. And at the time, it made more sense to me moving to Atlanta than him moving to Detroit, career wise. So yeah, took the leap and said, why not? And jumped up and packed all my things and moved to Atlanta. Of course, all my friends thought I was crazy, but I said, no, I'm good.
What year was this?
I moved to Atlanta in 2001.
Well, tell us about your first experience stepping into a gay club in Atlanta.
Well, okay, we can rewind a little bit. When I moved to Atlanta, wasn't my first time at a gay club in Atlanta.
Okay.
My first time I was visiting Atlanta, because I went to Clark. My first time was when I was going to Clark.
That's right.
I was dating a guy, and I hope people don't think this is some kind of trend with me. I was dating a guy. We broke up. They transferred schools to Clark. We got back together. I transferred schools to Clark. But the only thing about that situation was he was a pretty jealous guy, and he did not want me to experience the gay lifestyle in Atlanta. He was like very, very, very against it. But of course, me being a grown person, I went anyway. It caused a lot of rift because I wanted to see. I wasn't looking for a person or anybody like that. It just, I wanted to see. I was kind of knee deep in the Black gay community in Detroit. So I going to Atlanta. Yeah, I wanted to see what it was all about. I was a lot younger then, of course, but I wanted to see what it was all about. So I was early 20s.
And which club was it?
Then it became 708, but back then it was called Loretta's, I believe. I think it was Loretta's, the Ritz, something like that. I went to two clubs. Okay, Loretta's. I went to two clubs, Loretta's and the Palace. Those were the two clubs I went to while I was there when I was in school. And it was a different experience because, well, number one, I didn't know anybody. That was the biggest part. And we lived off campus and we shared a 4-bedroom house not that far from campus. And two of the people that roomed with us was some of his friends, and it was an older gay guy. And he partied all the time. And that's what got me to go out because he would always ask me. Then I always say no, trying to appease, the homie. But it was one time I said, you know what, yeah, I'm going to go with you. And I went out with him. I had a ball. I had a really good time. Because like I said, it was a new experience. But then like I said, that caused such a strong rift in between me and my dude. So it was one of those things where, yeah, I'm ready to go back home. And and that was that. However, when I moved to Atlanta, it was years later. Right. It was a different experience because I moved to Atlanta. I was 28 or 29 when I moved in 2001. I was 28 or 29. And that was a slightly different experience because I remember for the first time going to Bulldogs. That was my first bar I went to when I came here to live permanently. And that was an experience. Like I said, it was packed. It was crowded. And it was nice. It was hype. I went out with my dude and his friends, and it was a good time. But back then, the city itself was on fire. That's when you had the after hours. You had Loretta's. You had the Palace. Later on, you had with the ATL. It had been so many clubs, but in that one period, I say from 2001 to somewhere around 2010, maybe a little after, the club scene, the Black gay club scene. Let me express that. The Black gay club scene, it was a variety. Like, you had choices.
You absolutely did.
It turned into something else.
You absolutely did. And just a little caveat, what is that like? I see people do it, but what's that like going to the club with your significant other? Because, I always imagine, I kind of roll my eyes sometimes when I would see it, and it would be, because that sometimes depending on the couple, depending on the people involved, somebody might be a little more social than the other one, and then the other one is clingy, and one might want to circulate around the club, whereas the other one would want to stand in one place or cling on to their person and whatnot. What was that experience like for you going out with your significant other?
Well, it was cool. I never had an issue with it. I actually prefer it, so I never had an issue with that because I'm an affectionate guy and I like public display. I like PDA. There's no issue about that. However, even though usually my dude, whoever I'm with, they don't like it for some reason. But I like being out with my dude because I like having those I like having those moments where we can just be friends. Also, like, everything don't have to be a romantic night in. Let's just go out, have some drinks, and just kicking and talking, da da da. Nothing, no pretense behind it other than let's just hanging out as friends. So I like to have that vibe with my dude and the person I'm dating. I love to have that vibe. Now, what I can say, how I do it has changed over the years.
Okay.
Depending on, because you gotta be still accommodating with whomever you with. You can't just think about, oh, this is what I like to do and it's me.
So what's the difference? What's the difference between CeeJay 2024 and CeeJay 2001, circa 2001?
Well, I can tell you this. I used to be that dude in the club dressed like my dude, like.
Not the matching outfit.
Oh man, I used to be that dude, man. I'm telling you, I look back on it and it's so cringy now because I'm like, damn, I used to really do that. Interview and matching to the T. So that was the thing, and that was actually before 2001. That was before I moved here. I used to do a lot of that. But then as you get older, you start to say, yeah, no, that's kind of corny. And then you get out of that. But only the bad part about it, you would end up dating somebody that wants that. And you'd be like, hell no, you better find something else to wear. And then, sometimes you just don't care and you just go out. But I can say this, if you want to say 2001 Clinton going out dating and now CeeJay going out dating, nowadays it's probably a little bit more affection, I guess. I'm going to sneak in some butt grabs and some this and that. I'm going to, do all that kind of stuff to, just to, I like that public thing right there. Whereas before, it'll be, it won't be as bad. It might just be holding hands, just standing there holding hands, which actually now I think that's corny. Just two people standing there holding hands is kind of just, why are y'all doing that? But it's like y'all just standing there like mannequins holding hands. But I used to do that. I won't do that now. But back, now, like I said, it's more of trying to, get a belly smooth or butt grab or something like that. So yeah, it's a little bit different now.
Aww.
It's not as
let's spin the block a little bit back to the ballroom scene. So ballroom is a subculture, right? It's a subculture within a subculture. So, and I recall just like, I would recall seeing, people that are, my friends would be like, oh, that's such and such, and they're in the house of such and such.
Right.
And that's such and such, and there. So, the houses, the members are a little insulated. So how does one become a member of a family of a house, and does most of the recruiting take place when you're out at the club?
Well, houses are like ballroom houses are like any other type of. I always liken it to a fraternity or sorority or to that effect. Whereas everyone has every house has a different standard. You have certain houses that are family oriented, where it's and I'm saying these things, and it's not to say one is better than the other. It's just different. You have certain houses that are more family oriented, where it's kind of like come one, come all. Like, we don't want to turn anybody away because everybody's looking for a connection. So you come to the house, we'll find something for you to do, whether it's on the runway or behind the scenes helping other people. You have houses like that, which I give immense amount of respect to those type of houses because those houses are usually the larger houses. And even on top of that, it takes a lot to run a house. And then you have your other houses, which is a little bit more exclusive, a little bit more picky. So it takes a lot to get into the house. And they usually consider those houses, a lot of they can sometimes get the reputation as being stuck up, think they too good, da da da. And they usually wear those type of reputations with a badge though, as a badge of honor, because they're like, yeah, we are, and you're not getting in, and what I'm saying. Then you got other houses that you can't ask to be in, you have to be approached to be in. And because if you ask, you will never get in. Then you have to be asked. And then the person who asks you becomes your sponsor. Like, you bring them to the father, mother of the house, or the council of the house, or because a lot of houses nowadays are more structured, where they have like boards and councils and elders and stuff like that. And then somebody can say, hey, I think you're a good fit for this house. I want to sponsor you to be whatever the house name is. And you can get in that way.
Do you recall while being at one of the nightclubs here, whether it was Trax or Loretta's, do you recall like you spotting a recruit and you approaching them? Did it ever take place at any of those clubs, or what was that experience like? And you don't have to name names, but was there ever a moment where you were out and you saw someone, you were like, you know what, they've been on my radar for a minute. While we're here, let me just holler at them.
That has happened, and it does happen quite often with numerous people. But in Atlanta, that has happened with me. The club, the most that was that you can see, when I say you could find, you used to be able to find the most talent in Atlanta, was Wednesday night mini balls. Back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, icon in the scene, his name is Andre Mizrahi. He used to host a Wednesday night mini ball, packed all the time. Like people would literally travel here to go to a ball on a Wednesday night and go back home. Like it was the place to be in ballroom culture at the time in Atlanta. And if you that's where you would find a lot of the newbies, the people who just wanted to be in ballroom, who just wanted to, and they would walk. And I'll say 70% of them really didn't have a lot of talent, but then you had that 30% who was just incredibly talented. Like they just needed maybe a little bit of structure, a little bit of guidance, and it's like they're going to be phenomenal. And I've had some of them that went on to be legends and so forth. So I would say that has happened. Actually, that's how I found the when I started the House of Cavalli in Atlanta. That's how I found my house mother at Tracks, and I was like, okay, because he came in. I call him house mother. He's what they call a male mother.
Yeah.
So he was my house mother, but his pronoun is he. So his style was impeccable. And I seen, I'm like, this dude got some style. I could see him being the mother of my house and walking best dressed. And that's when he came to the house. And that's what it's so funny because he's a big stylist now. So, but yeah, and he came to the house and walked in one, and we balanced each other out because he was definitely more of the nurturer, where I'm more the disciplinarian. And so we balance each other a lot. And then, and the kids, they like that dynamic. Because I say you will get a lot of kids, they're just looking for some place to show their talent, but they want a family unit to do it in.
Isn't that's a theme that we've seen play out? The world knows about that now, that how a lot of young people who identify as queer, gay, lesbian, the club is oftentimes where you find that other family, that your chosen family. And it's so, I mentioned it's on television now, but ballroom culture has become wildly popular over the past few years. But they, ballroom houses weren't always welcomed by society. So what can you recall, what was the relationship between the ballroom community and the club owners in like the early 2000s? Because I'm assuming, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that a lot of the balls would take place at your nightclubs. So you'd have to have a relationship, but not everybody was feeling the whole ballroom scene, because ballroom houses come with a reputation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what were those relationships like back then, if marrying the two communities?
It was a little bit hard. See, one thing you had to have a good. I don't say you didn't have to, because most club owners, if you got the money, hey, you can have your ball here. But then it makes it easier when you have a good working relationship with club owners. The one thing, just to even take you back a little bit further, one thing that I was shocked about when I got in the ballroom scene, became very active in the ballroom scene, that the back in the early 2000s, late 90s, the ballroom culture, I'm sorry, the Black gay community as a whole looked down on ballroom culture.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that until I became part of it. And then you would meet people, this and that. Hey, how you doing? And he might be somebody that you like and you want to date or something like that. And you meet him, say, yeah, what you do, what you like to do for hobbies. Well, I walk balls. I like the ballroom culture. Instant turn off. Like you'll literally see their whole facial expression change. Like, oh. And then you can like, okay, what's the issue? So that was a big, strong thing. And then when it came to club owners, and club promoters, they looked at it as, y'all gonna tear up my club. Y'all gonna come in here fighting. Y'all gonna tear up my club. Da da da. And yeah, y'all can afford to pay for the rental, but will y'all be able to afford to pay for the staging once y'all mess it up, or the couches once y'all put, y'all high heels, put holes in them for standing on them and stuff like that. And so that was always a barrier. So that's what made sense. You had to have a working relationship with a lot of club owners and promoters, so they can trust you and they can have a rapport with you, and they can say, "That's Clinton. He's good. CeeJay's good." Like that. Perfect example. Perfect example. I had a ball. I hosted a ball about. It was a comic book ball. I think it was comic book ball 2 or 3. And I do them every 2 years or so. So and it was at this club over on Cheshire Bridge. Me and that club promoter, because he was a manager, me and that club manager did not get along. He was new. I was new to him. me and him did not get along. The whole situation was rocky from the time I signed the contract. So I'm like, okay, this is crazy, this and that. So anyway, the night of the ball, he wouldn't let nobody in. He shut it down. I called the police, the whole bit, because they're like, dude, we got a contract. His thing was, well, it's not this. We got a flood. And he started making all these excuses. Like, and I got so heated, I'm ready to fight. And, Brandon, he's ready to fight too. So it was other people there that was like, Clinton, don't worry about it. You find somewhere else. The first thing I did, I picked up my phone. I called Philip. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Philip. He used to be the owner of 708. He's a big club guy in Atlanta. He don't do it anymore. But back then he was the manager at I think he was actually owned it 708 before he sold it off to another guy, and then Olivia started managing it, that whole story. But anyway, at the time he was the owner or manager of 708. And I called him. I said, man, I need a place to throw this ball, this and that. He said, Clinton, don't worry. I'm done with this event here at 1 o'clock. If you want to start your ball at 2, I got you. And that same night, this whole thing, he flipped his whole club for me. I had my ball over there. So, I mean, it was an inconvenience because you had to start redirecting people. Like, everybody was going to, I had to leave somebody up there to say, hey, the ball is moved to 708. Of course, it was like a lot before. It was before heavy social media. Social media was around, but not real heavy. So it was like you had to physically call people and have people stay up there to just kind of redirect people to 708, which people did come up there. Everything still turned out good. It did cut I probably lost about 30% of people that originally would have showed up, but it was one of those things where, I was still able to have a successful ball, give out all my money, pay all my people. So it was still good. But it was just having that relationship with that club owner made it so easy to just pivot out of a bad situation. So,
yeah. So, especially in a city like Atlanta, Atlanta's big, but it's not that big
at all.
So you're absolutely right. So starting and keeping a relationship with a lot of promoters and club owners was a skill that you definitely have. I've seen it. But you and Brandon also started a movement that I'm using my I statements, everybody, I will assert was the first in the inclusivity crusades that you all are seeing now. Tell everybody, talk to us about the big dogs, the parties, the after parties, the brand. Talk to us about what the big dogs was, and why you started that for the specific group that you cater to.
The G-rated events, I guess you can call it.
The dance parties.
Dance parties, there you go. The dance parties, because I said we doing this. Why can't we just do something, host a party where you can come have a good time, that we can bring bigger guys and men who like bigger guys in the same room and let them do their thing. Because the big guy don't always have to be the driver, that's my ride to the club. They don't have to be that. You know what I'm saying? Because that was kind of the thing. And then how about they come, they enjoy themselves, and then they're the ones like, okay, this guy keep following me around. He liked me so much. He buying me drinks. They can't be the eye. They can't be the prize. The object. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the object of affection. That's the object of affection. I said, because they're out there. Nobody's going to tell me that there's not all these chasers out there, because it was actually frowned upon to like big guys. They kept that like it was some secret. Like it was like you like big guys. They look at you like you got 3 legs. It's like, you know what I'm saying? So over the years, that's why I'm so glad we're getting to the point we are now, where people are like, I love me a big boy. I love me a fat boy, or whatever, because that's their attraction. But yeah, especially in the 2000s, people was like, nah, and that's what they like. But they freaking in the closet and, in the shadows of the night. But no, if you like that, go out there and meet some, date some. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're not alien. So that's when I say, we start doing the white parties. I remember the very first white party. And,
because the first one actually was not on Labor Day, if I recollect correctly. It was MLK weekend, and it was a winter in white party.
Yeah,
and I just recall like the very first one. I think I want to say was at Bulldogs.
No,
No, it
It
wasn't.
wasn't.
Okay.
It's not. The place is not, of course, like you said, that whole landscape has changed now. But the first one was another club because where 708 is, it was 708, 714, and then there was an event center next door to them.
No, that's what I'm talking about because that was the very first one that I spun at.
Oh, you okay? You talking about the day party? The first day
No, it
party was
wasn't a day party. It wasn't a day party. It was at night. So I recall around '07, I think maybe '06. There was an MLK party that you put on, the Big Dogs put on, and it was at Bulldogs. And I recall specifically, like, where the hell am I going to find something white at this time of year to wear at this party? I was sitting a tizzy trying to find something to wear. So I finally found a white hoodie and my black Bubble Goose vest to wear over it to the event, and it was at Bulldogs. And now and I think that was around '06 or '07. Then by '08, that MLK weekend, that was the first time you allowed me to come through and spin, and it was at that event center behind 708, where all that stuff is no longer there anymore, but it was an event center. I sucked because that was my first gig. I sucked until the very end, I will say, until the end, where I don't know what came over me, but I started, like, people really started getting into it and started dancing. But I have to tell you, from that moment and all the white parties after that during Labor Day weekend, I had never seen anything like that. It was truly something that we all looked forward to.
Yeah.
It was something that, we all were we started looking for something to wear, because that was a big deal. I'll never forget when we were allowed to spin at the host hotel for Black Gay Pride, because it was the same weekend, and we were allowed to come up there and host a white party there. And I'll never forget, like, the first time I had y'all wobbling. And picture a group of men of different ages, different sizes, like, doing the wobble, all wearing their white. I will never forget it as long as I live. And you and Brandon created that environment. And like you said, it changed lives, because there's people that are married now, like you said, that met there at those parties. And you guys created a legacy with the Big Dogs and the white parties and things of that nature. And so now, how do you feel looking, and you're seeing this whole landscape has completely changed, and there's almost not a need for it? It's like the self-esteem of the ones that have come up after us is like they don't need any prompting or pushing up. They already come to the room with their chest out now.
I look at it like, okay, mission accomplished. Because the whole point of it was to boost, to give you an ego. Because to let you so you're worthy too. Like, one thing I don't like is anyone that feels like they're not worthy of something. If you're on this earth, you're living, you're breathing, you're taking care of yourself, like, you are worthy of whatever that you desire. That's just period. Don't let anybody else tell you, because people will use it. People will use your size against you, as if you're not, like, yeah, you shouldn't be worthy. What you looking like you got something for? You fat. You don't got nothing. No, you still you. I mean, you have spaces out there where you're the prize, and that's what the whole point was. Even with, and I remember that that was at the Millennia, at that party, and that was to be, as a side note, that was the first. I'm gonna say the first time, but that was the one party where more ballroom people came to that party, and that kind of shocked me. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're actually marrying the two. And I was like, and Brandon was kind of always against that part of it, but I was like, no, let them come. Everybody can come. So that was at that party was quite a few ballroom people there, and they really enjoyed themselves. So that was one of those good things. But that was like the white party, or even the dance parties in general. I always thought that was just a bit to scratch the surface, because, like, there's other stuff we can do. And that's why we, at the job I had at the time, I wanted them to sponsor the big boy cabin retreats and the stuff like that, because it's like we gotta do other
Yes.
stuff, right? Because I say other
I
stuff we
forgot
can
about
have.
that.
Oh yeah, the cabin, because it is like I want it to be at like zero cost to the people that's coming. I just want, and it was. I was just lucky enough or blessed enough to have the position in that job where I could have made that happen. So that was always a good thing. So, but my goal has always been for bigger guys of size, because I'm not a small guy. So it's always been for guys of size to feel wanted, desired, and empower them to know, hey, you mean something here, and you don't have to settle for less. Yeah, you can get what you want. So to see that people actually got that in their system now, and they out there like, hey, what are you talking about? And I see the post and people on social media like, I'm the prize. What do you mean? If I had anything to do with that, if a big boy party ever pushed you to get to that attitude or ever pushed you to get to that esteem, then I did what I had to do on my end. Because I always help any other. I can't even tell you how many big boy groups that I came after that I've given advice to, because it's never going to be. I mean, it's not about just one group. Like, it's enough room for everybody. Just do your thing. My only thing is to do it with sympathy, do it with care, do it with your target audience in mind. Don't do it selfishly. That's my only thing. Do it with your audience in mind. Make sure that your whole drive should be them having a good time and being empowered. So,
Thank you for that. And I'm not gassing it when I say that it really it changed my life. Like, being seen. First of all, nobody knew that I was learning how to DJ. I mean, except for my friends. And then to finally find somebody or a tribe, if you will, that is opening their arms to say, hey, you got the talent, come share with us, and you guys, I was always paid. I always got paid, so because a lot of people will try and say, well, you get paid in experience. That was not the case. CeeJay and Brandon always paid me.
Get your money, yes, man.
Absolutely. But
I don't believe in that. Yeah.
Get your money, but just the fact that it was definitely a life-changing experience that spawned from, just going to regular clubs and not being seen, to having this whole movement be created, and then unknowingly sparking this inclusivity moment that we've been in for the past going almost a decade now, this inclusivity thing of different bodies and whatnot. We mentioned a lot of buildings, a lot of places have disappeared from the landscape of Atlanta.
Oh,
just
sure.
because of growth. Same thing with the clubs. Like, the majority of the clubs that you mentioned in this conversation are no longer there. So does Atlanta still deserve, since we, take it to a ballroom term, but does Atlanta still deserve the title of Black Gay Mecca when it comes to nightlife?
I feel, well, when it comes to nightlife, that's I don't want to say it's a trick question, but it's harder to say because no one really has it right now. Okay. So it's harder to say. Now, some more than others, but to say, when I think of that Mecca, when I think of that nightlife, I think of that, especially in Atlanta, I think of that every night there's at least two options. Every night. Monday option, Tuesday option, it's two options, sometimes three or four. But Atlanta used to be that place where, and that's how I got the title, because you can wake up on a Tuesday and say, I'm off Wednesday, and you will find at least two or three clubs that'll all be packed that you can go to that night.
Right.
So that's long gone. So no one has that right now. No city, no anything. So Atlanta, in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily hold it, but it's the last holder, if that makes sense. It's the last holder of that title. So I guess by default, they still do have the title because no one has picked it up. And we got to, when I say this, I mean outside of Pride weekends. Of course, Pride weekends is something to do in these cities. But once the Pride weekend is gone, now what do you have? You don't have, and DC is a great city. I mean, it's hope, but after Pride weekend, what black gayness do you have in DC? You have a couple. You got the Fireplace and maybe one or two others, but it's not all on the same nights. It's different nights, different times of the month, all of that. So you don't really have that nightlife experience that Atlanta once gave you. So Atlanta still hold it. It's just not, it's just not utilized because nobody took it from them. I guess that's the best way to do it. No one took it. No one has taken it from Atlanta since Atlanta held it.
Mm.
So,
that's a good point.
I wish Atlanta still had it though, because Atlanta was the way the city is built. It was like you can go to a club in Buckhead, a black gay club, let's say Midtown. Okay, perfect example. You can go to Bulldogs, have one experience. You can go to the Marquette, have a totally different black gay experience, and then you can leave that and go somewhere like the Lions Den. When Lions Den was out, the Lions Den, and have an entirely different black gay experience. And these are all clubs within the Atlanta area that you have 3 entirely different black gay experiences at. So you don't have that no more. I don't care what city or state you're in. You don't have it no more. But Atlanta was the last person to give you that. If you woke up and you felt ratchet that day for that night, you go to Marquette because you know it's going to be ratchet city up in there, and that's fine. But if you wanted to, hey, you wanted to put on your baseball cap and your jersey or whatever, and wanted to you want to listen to some hip hop, but you want to be around a more older crowd, you go to the Lions Den. You're going to get the baseball cap, the jeans, the sneakers, the nice sneakers and all like that, but from a more of a 35, 40 and up crowd. If you want a little mixture of both of those, you go to Bulldogs. And you got places like that, but they're all 3 they were all 3 different experiences, but still under the black gay umbrella. You just don't get that no more.
And to that point about not getting it anymore, I'm wondering if, because now we're living in a world that's a little more inclusive, that people aren't pressed to have those spaces anymore, to create those spaces anymore. You'll have promoters that, like you said, for a holiday weekend, they'll pay some straight performer, to come entertain the crowd and, charge outrageous prices at a venue, at a restaurant, wherever. But as far as ongoing spaces for black queer people, it's just not there anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering if it's because of that. Like, is it because you and the crew can just go to a brunch spot and throw ass while you're eating and drinking, but you don't necessarily have to go to a gay club anymore?
Well, that's just part of it. I think that's a small part of it, but that is a part of it. I think the bigger part of it is the promoters. We really don't have and this is no shot at any one promoter, because I know I know 3 or 4 or 5 different promoters in Atlanta right now. But it's no shot at any one promoter or any promoter at all. But a lot of promoters, and once upon a time, when the black gay promoters wanted to reach the black gay community with parties or what have you, it would be on a level of, I'm trying to see the best way to put this. It'd be on more of a broader level, I guess you could say. Now the parties are so niche, like you literally have to fit into this little pinhole of thug, rap. You know what I'm saying? This one little niche crowd, 18 to 25 crowd. That's the crowd you have to fit in, because that's what it seemed like from what I've seen. It seemed like that's the crowd that the most of the gay promoters, black gay promoters, cater to. And then once you leave that, because a lot of the older promoters, they kind of threw their hands up and they done. And those were the promoters that kept the crowd alive. And a lot of the younger people are not paying those monies unless it is a prior weekend. They're not paying that kind of money to just go to the club no more. And you can add a lot of other little nuances in there, like the drugs, this stuff, stuff like that.
Well, they're paying for sections. They're paying for bottle service. They'll shell out money for that.
They're paying for a section. You got 20 people paying for a 5-person section. That's crazy. You're paying $200 or how much, whatever the section costs, and then you go up there. Because trust me, I've been invited to 1,000,000,001 parties, and they say you can come to my section. You get to that party, you go up to that section. It's like 20 or 30 people in this little bitty area. I was like, no, I'm good. I stay out here on the floor. And so it's like, yeah, you got all these people in the section, but is that really a VIP? Is that really a section? To me, that's not. But that's the culture now. That is our culture. Let's buy a bottle. Let's all buy this $200 bottle of Hennessy, and we're all, a fifth. It's not even a half gallon, but a fifth, and we all gonna share it. And it's 20 of us. So it's like, but they don't. It doesn't matter because they're in a section somehow, and they got a bottle. But that's not a flex to me when 20 of y'all got to share that one bottle. So it's a little different. The promoters don't care because they're selling the section and they're selling the bottle, and then you paying to get in. So their end goal is solved. They did what they had to do, but it's not the flex of the patrons who come there and crowd out a section and share one bottle. It's just not. To me, that's not a flex. Now, if that was the thing, because we are what they say, we are a brunch and section culture now. Everything is a brunch and everything is a section.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get as many people as we can because I'm not going to say we can't afford it, but I'm just going to say we get as many people as we can so that we can do this some kind of way. Mm-hmm. And that's the culture we live into. This wouldn't have been a thing 15, 20 years ago. I mean, even if the section thing was available, it'd be you with a section, your boy would have a section. Like everybody, it wouldn't be like it is now. But we're so eager to get out and be amongst, and it's the flex now. It's not going out to have a good time. It's just going out to flex. It's a reason why these clubs don't have, half these clubs don't have dance floors no more, or the dance floor is just a little spot on the floor.
That's right.
So it's because nobody's going out to have a good time no more. People are going out to flex. They just want to show up and show out and flex, and see what I'm doing, and that's what and we all gonna take a selfie with this bottle, and it's your turn to take the selfie. Here go the bottle. Like that's what we're doing now. It's like
you'll be hard pressed to find anybody doing the wobble or doing any kind of line dance like what we experienced back in the day.
Because people went out to have fun. Now, if we met somebody, great. If our friends and we all just chilling, great. But the goal was to go out, get drunk, get high, whatever, but have a good time doing it. Not to just stand there and dance in place and say, hey, everybody, look over here, look at me. There's just a different culture now. Mm. So, and that does play a big role because you got other people, especially the older crowd, they just don't want to be around a lot of that all the time. So, and they be charging you an arm and a leg to get in these places. It's crazy.
Right. I will say for our crowd, the older crowd, what we have been blessed with, first of all, is a lot of us are living longer, knock on wood. There are some people, that are still, dying young, but for the most part, we are living longer. We didn't come up in the epidemic, in the height of the epidemic.
Right.
So we didn't have that fear while we were coming out and being social with each other. But now I think as we get older, I think what we are doing a good job of is keeping in contact with each other. Or we should, and maintaining like regular contact with each other to check in on people, because a lot of us, we don't have to grow old alone anymore.
Right.
We can at least, we have our chosen families. If you're not partnered, you can at least have a chosen family. So I think that at least that's something that came out of the culture, that came out of the club history that we've been exploring here, is that there have been many, many reasons for us to go out and to congregate with each other, whether it was to find a chosen family, whether it was to find somebody to fall in love with, or just, to feel attractive, to feel seen. But
that's
now,
important. That's important. It's important to feel seen when you're in any space. You want to feel seen. You want to feel appreciated, and that's in any space, and that's anybody. Anybody say that that's something they don't care about, they're lying to themselves.
Yeah. Well, this has been Clinton Jolliffi. I always call him CeeJay. He's always been CeeJay to me. Run down that title again, Father Clinton. Run down your title one more time.
I am, and it's so funny because I still get called father, even though I don't. I've been a father for 20 years, and even though since I pulled back from ballroom slightly, I'm not a father of a house or anything like that. But I have fathered fathers. Right. So to say that my name is, I am legendary icon, Hall of Famer, Father Clint Jolliffi.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to do this with me. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, I appreciate you. You already know, man. I love you to pieces. You have, and then I'm going to take a minute to give you your flowers because you have meant more to the growth of the big dogs and the big boy movement more than you even know. I promise you. It's been times where they will ask, especially when you really start doing your thing, so down you DJing? Who's DJing? Like they want you. Like they be on it because I can barely remember when you say you wasn't good. I'm like, when was that? Because you always I remember when you started, but it seemed like you always had a knack. Like you might not have been good technically, to your standards, but you always had a knack to feel the groove, to feel the music, and people dance. Like that was the thing. You got the people out there, and they dance and they wobble, and and they did. And they did their thing, and that was a blessing. Like I say, you was a blessing to this whole thing because you was right there. You played just a bigger part in all of this. Like it ain't just me, it's just Brandon. It's like you was right there and you played just a bigger part. Like, you can have the talkers all day. I can grab the mic 100 times all day. None of that means nothing if you don't got the music. And that's what people want to hear. They come out there and want the music. I've seen too many times where you would play a song and you would switch that beat and that floor gets so damn crowded because they just like, okay, you done played their song. And so, you know how to fill out a crowd. If you don't want to do nothing else, you can move a crowd. That's facts. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I've enjoyed this trip down memory lane.
Okay, me too.
And again, thank you. Thank you for listening to I Come Alive, Stories of Black Gay Atlanta Nightlife. Brought to you by Q Points Productions. Special thanks to the Counter Narrative Project 2024 Media Roundtable for their support as well. Make sure you become a Q Point subscriber so that you don't miss the next episode of I Come Alive.